Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Immigrant Mom Show. Good evening, whatever time it is where you are. Thank you for joining us. We have a special guest today. It's a virtual book launch. As usual, we're just going to listen to some music and give time for people to join. How does that sound? I'm just going to try to share to as many groups as possible. Hi, when you join, please let me know where you're watching from. Always a pleasure to have you. All right. Let's see. Awesome. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please let me know where you're watching from. I ain't taking no calls on my struggles in the rearview mirror. If you ain't going my way, it's Thursday. It's Thursday. Last Thursday we could not meet because our guest had something coming up. That's something that came up. But thankfully we're here today for a virtual book launch. We're celebrating someone. Hi, Anne. Thank you for joining. Share your presence. Please go ahead and share. I'm going to take this time to share with everyone so they can join us and let's talk about wet brains today. I'm chasing for the standard just to make your life hard. You gather more things for your comfort just to watch them all fall. Going 100 on the highway, I ain't taking no calls on my struggles in the rearview mirror. If you ain't going my way, then you can get off. Let me turn up and let the music play. 100 on the highway, I ain't taking no calls on my struggles in the rearview mirror. If you ain't going my way, then you can get off. Let me turn up and let the music play. Way ahead of the hate. Hello, thank you for joining. Go ahead and share, please. I'm spending some time now sharing on my group so many more people can join us. We'll have an interesting book over today. It's book lunch for wet braids. Just don't bother me. No matter what they say, cause I can see right through. All the trying to be on the highway. I ain't taking no calls on my struggles in the rearview mirror. If you ain't going my way, then you can get off. Let me turn up and let the music play. 100 on the highway. I ain't taking no calls on my struggles in the rearview mirror. If you ain't going my way, then you can get off. Let me turn up and let the music play. Hi everyone. Hi Julian. Thank you for joining. I appreciate your presence. Go ahead and share. We're waiting for more people to join us. A couple more minutes and we're going to get started. This is the Immigrant Mom. And my name is Estelle Baja. I am the founder of this organization. Every other Thursday, we gather here to celebrate the immigrant mom, the immigrant woman's story. And today we have a story to talk about. So go ahead and join me for this interesting conversation. How are you? How's your Thursday? We're quickly approaching Christmas. I think we should all be winding down, spending time with family. Some people are having a hard time, as you know. This season has a way of reminding people of the loss. So our hearts are going out to those who are not having such a festive season. For those that are, good for you. Thank God for your blessing. Please share so many more people can join. Once you join, let me know where you're watching from. All right. Thank you for joining. Thank you. What better way to spend your Thursday evening than to learn from someone who was making her dreams come true, writing a book, sharing her story with us, how she came about that. Yeah. Truly, I love you truly. Yeah. And we were meant to be.
make sure all my friends know that we have something interesting for
It's
tonight, like we always do.
destiny. You meant
All
we
right,
were
guys.
meant
Well,
to
we'll get started
be.
and hopefully other people will join us with time. Hi, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, if that's the time where you are. I hope you guys are doing great. My name is Ixtel Mbaacha. I am the founder of the Immigrant Mom Organization. If you're joining us today for the first time, we are an organization that is a platform to equip, empower, and educate the immigrant mother, the woman who is raising children in a culture that she did not grow up in. This organization is not only for mothers, it's also for mothers to be, it's for nurturers, for caretakers. If you have your nieces and your nephews and you want to know what it takes to raise them in a culture you did not grow up in, this is the organization for you. We have a group online. It's called the Immigrant Mom Group. We celebrate each other. We share our stories. We ask questions. We post about jobs. You'll find a perfect mentor to mentor you in the new land that you're in on that group. So join us. The more, the merrier. So today it's our virtual book lunch. We have an immigrant lady with us, and I will not introduce her because I would like for her to introduce herself. But before we even get on to today's show, first, I wanted to apologize about the show that got postponed last week. Our guest ran into a situation. We know situations always happen. And she'll be joining us later to talk about, dealing with miscarriages. So hang on tight when that flyer comes out. Today is about wet braids. And so I'm going to bring on Cathy. She's my friend. I have known her for a very long time. We were in school together, we're in boarding school together. We were friends while in school, so I have known her for a very long time. I'll bring her on to introduce herself and we'll get on talking about this book. Hi, Cathy.
Hi, Phil.
Welcome.
Good intro. Hi.
Sure. So, I know a little bit about you, but people who are watching may not know. So just tell them, in as many words as you can. Who is Kat?
All right. So, formally, my name is Catherine Ayokosok. I guess everybody calls me Cathy. So sometimes I forget my name is Catherine. Born and raised, I'm born and raised in Cameroon. Like I said, we went to the boarding school together for my secondary school and high school. And I moved to the US a couple of years back. And I've been between US and Canada. And currently, I live in the US. And here I am. From
And you're a pharmacist. You forgot that part of it.
we thank God, yeah.
You're a certified drug dealer.
I am, yeah, certified. That's it. We thank God. And I'm
Awesome.
from a family of six. I'm the youngest, four brothers and a sister, and then my parents are alive, and that's me. Yeah.
Awesome. So people are saying hi to you. Julianne says hi, Auntie Cathy is watching. I
Thanks,
would think
Maggie.
that you know who she is because
Yeah,
that
that's
got a
actually my
chuckle.
PT in boarding school. So when I was in opposite, she was in Form 1. So yeah, that's
Oh,
my PT. Yeah.
awesome, awesome. Well, Cathy, thank you so much for joining us. And we were going to talk about your book. But before we talk about the book, because I was able to read the book, the storyline is really interesting. There's so many things we want to draw out of it. But tell me, why wet braids? What's the inspiration behind the name? Because I have had a couple people ask me that question. Wet braids, what does that stand for?
Oh, okay. So actually, before I kind of landed on the title as Wet Braids, I had a couple of lessons learned on the veranda, woman in struggle, broken. It was a bunch of stuff that I kind of ran through. But
Mhm.
the reason I chose wet braids, first of all, it's a metaphor. And so, like I have a braid on, and if your braids get wet, they kind of get heavy. And so
Right.
the girl in the story and everything gang, she went through a lot of challenges in life. So I was like looking for a metaphor that could relate to somebody going through challenges. So you're
Mhm.
going through a heavy time, heavy heart. And so wet braids was something I came up with. But also secondly, something I could relate to. For most of us African and Black women, we all kind of wear braids, right?
Right.
And so I was something that personally I could relate to. So I was like, okay, wet braids. It could be like heavy braids for a Black woman. And then the last reason why I chose wet braids was at the end of the story. there's a sentence that says, "Running under the rain and my wet braids," and so that's actually where it came from.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome, awesome. That's great. I mean, metaphor, when you're talking to all these authors, they use words here and there, and you're like, wait a second, metaphor, wet braids, heaviness, but I totally get it. Now, and about this book, for those who have not read it, you would probably want to get yourself a copy from Amazon. It's a very interesting book. Is this all fiction, or what part of the book is your life?
Um, I'm gonna look into the sky for this. Okay, it is 100% fiction,
It's a
but at,
100% fiction.
fiction. But
Okay.
at the end of the day, because I wrote the story, I'm being informed by my worldview and my life experiences for me
Okay.
to come up with a fictional story. So nothing in the book is true. It's 100% fiction. But however, my worldview and experiences kind of shape the way I wrote the book.
Awesome, awesome. So when you talk about worldview and the way you wrote the book, you mentioned in there about a lady who is in a relationship, right? And she's been cheated on and she stays in it. Since this was inspired by your worldview, what's your view on ladies that keep on in relationships even though they've been cheated on? Let's talk about your worldview.
Okay. So that part of the book about cheating, um how can I say? So that is not 100% my worldview. I think that one reason I kind of portrayed the lady in the book stay in that relationship was because she was in the relationship for the wrong reasons. She was moved by who the guy was, like because he
Hmm.
was a rich and influential guy, not
Hmm.
because she loved him that much. And that's why she stayed in the relationship, right?
Hmm.
And so I was trying to portray how sometimes us as women, we get to find ourselves staying in something, not because we really love the people, but
Hmm.
because we are, first of all, worried about what other people are going to say about us in the first place.
Hmm.
And then secondly, we also want to portray to others, oh, I also have a relationship. And we also have the idea of what a perfect man is. He needs to have a perfect career. He needs to be successful. He needs to be handsome. And so trying to portray how sometimes we get locked down on certain things. And because of that, we find ourselves staying in relationships that we're not supposed to be in. But I wasn't trying to portray the fact that you need to be in a cheated relationship. So I
Right.
was coming from the other aspect.
Right. And I get that. My question more was about, just to have an understanding of what you think about, ladies, young ladies like you and myself, yourself, who
Mhm.
are probably, in that kind of a relationship for whatever reason. And
So
for
you're
those,
asking me personally what I'll do if I'm in a cheated relationship?
yeah, I was just
Okay.
asking for your worldview. Like if you were talking to somebody else, if you were talking to Ngang right now,
Okay.
and that was her situation, what's your idea? What's your ideology on things like that?
There's never a black and white, as I've learned over the years and growing older when it comes to relationships. It's not just, oh, he cheated on me, so this is what it is, right? There's always a situation and what the story is behind the whole reason of what's happening. So I've come to a point in my life where I don't just say yes or no.
Yeah.
I let people come up with a story and try to understand what is really happening and come up with a decision for themselves or what makes them happy.
Hmm.
And I cannot say leave a relationship because somebody's cheating on you or stay in a relationship. I think every situation is unique. By the end of the day, it all boils down to the individual. If something doesn't lead to your growth, if that something
Right.
doesn't make you feel like a better person, if it's not
Right.
empowering you, if it's not giving you purpose and it's bringing you down, then you should not be in that relationship. But
Right.
there's no right or wrong way of how to handle your own personal life. That's just how I take it. And so I can
Right.
say yes
Right.
or no to any individual.
Right. All right. So we're going to have a pause on that because we'll come back to that particular topic. You have dropped a lot of wisdom right there that I want us to go deeper. But before we start looking at some parts of this book that I love, that I know you love, what was the inspiration? You shared with me about a particular family situation you were going through. Would
Okay.
you mind to talk about what happened before you started writing?
Okay, so I don't want to cry. I hope I don't cry because I was crying in 2019. 2018, March, April, my brother had a stroke. My elder brother, I'm his direct follower.
Okay.
And Okay, so when he had the stroke, because I used to live in Canada and I was the only family member in Canada people knew about. And so they tried reaching out to me, but then I already moved back to the US for school. And I got the message about more than 24 hours later because I didn't check my Facebook the whole day. And when I got on Facebook, and one of my friends in Montreal had written to me like, Cathy, call me, your brother is in trouble. And when I called him, it's like, hey, your brother is sick. Like he's really, really sick. He had a stroke and it's really bad. So I had to break the news to my family. Um, but fast forward, when I was able to visit my brother because I was in school during that period, it kind of left. I mean, no matter your rationale for cause and effect, and no matter what happens to somebody, you could be like, oh, because he, let's say, for example, somebody was drunk driving, they should die. You know, you
Mhm,
can have a rationale because you did this to yourself,
mhm,
then you
mhm.
expect this to happen. I guess no matter your rationale for that, when something that dramatic and drastic happens to you, especially somebody very close to you, it kind of leaves you in a very broken place, in the
Yeah,
place where you start asking so many questions, and especially in a place where you're helpless, you really can't
right.
do much about it.
And
And
is that how you
so
felt?
yeah, so I was in a place where I was really hurt and I was taking in so much because my mom and my sister were like reaching out to me and crying. I was in the middle of pharmacist. It was overwhelming. And so I went through all this phase of anger, frustration, anxiety, pain. I kind of withdrew a lot from many people during that time, 2018, 2019. Um, Even the people who are very close to, they were like, Cathy, what is going on with you? You just change. You become angry at every little thing. You're so
Mhm.
anxious. And so I think even though it happened to my brother, which is a story to tell about his experience,
Yeah,
but after that, I kind of went through a phase where I kind of sat down and asked myself so many questions. I feel like God used that situation in my life to kind of reveal the things that were broken in my own life.
mhm,
And he began to show me where I could grow as a person. And so as I was reflecting and having all this negative energy in me and questioning so many things, um, early 2019, I woke up one night and I just started writing.
mhm.
And I wrote a couple of pages and I sent it to my mom. And the next day, and she's like, what did you do? I was like, I wrote a story. She's like, is it your story? Because your story is very encouraging. I'm like, no, I just wrote about this girl from Cameroon. And she read it. She's like, you should keep writing. I'm like, no, mommy, I was just venting last night. She's like, no, you were not venting. That's God. Like sometimes God talks to us in so many ways. I'm like, no, I
Right,
just wanted to take it out. She's like, no, go ahead and keep writing. And so I started writing. I kept on writing a couple of more pages. And I sent it to my mentor, Mr. Divine Hour, and he read it. He's like, this is a good story, keep writing. So that's how the whole project on Word Braids started, just for me using that as a form of therapy, what I was going
right.
through. But at the end of the day, it came out to be this short story.
Well, and that's amazing. What you have just shared is really, really amazing that you went through a trying time, a time where it was a dark place for you. It was a place of sorrow, for anybody who is from a close-knit family. When our loved ones are sick, we prefer to be the ones who are sick because it has almost a double effect on our psyche. And you went through that. Not only did you allow yourself to deeply search, but you came up with something powerful. And I think that it's encouraging to everybody who is watching because truth be told, we all face things, we all go through difficult times. But what do you do with that difficult time, right? And you were able to come up with a book, and that's why we're celebrating not just the book, but because your difficult time brought about something.
Thanks.
What was the process like when you decided that the story made sense? How did you find who to edit, how to publish? To those who are probably thinking about their own book, what was the process like for you?
Um, there's something about me, whenever I have something in mind, I always reach out to people. And so when I had this in mind after my mom and my mentor kind of approved of it, I reached out to Nina Ngwa. I think you know her.
Yeah,
And I was like, hey, Nina, I'm about to do this. What do you recommend? I'm still in school. I'm broke. I'm on a budget. What do you recommend? So she kind of introduced me to the Fiverr community, which I use for most of my work, except for one or two things that I had to go more professional. So I use Fiverr, Fiverr. They have like many gigs on there. You can go on there and get so many things done. So I
yeah.
used it because I was broke. It's basically saying. And
Yeah, Fiverr is a good site. For those who don't know, you can go on Fiverr if you need some flyers for your organization.
events.
If you need, there's a lot of creative work going on Fiverr. You can also offer your services on Fiverr.
Fiverr, yeah, if you're a good editor and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I got on there. I used them for most of my services. I had three of my friends read the story. I claim it was another friend's story because I know they like to read. I'm like, what do you guys think of this? My friend is writing a book. Because if I told them it was me, I didn't think they were going to be honest about their comments, right? So
Right.
I lied a couple of times for them to tell me the truth. And they're like, yeah, your friend is really good. I think she should work on one or two things, you know. And I just got different input from different people. I went on YouTube, read about how to self-publish a book. I watched videos on that, the stages. I looked at different people's processes. I watched, I read online the difference between a novel, because my book kind of classifies as a novella, not a novel itself. And so I read about what I was trying to write. Is it a short story? Is it a novella? Is it a novel? So when I'm talking to people, I know what I'm using, just the literary terms. So it basically said, I searched for help from other people who've been through the process. I used resources that I could afford, because at that time I was broke. I used Fiverr. So it depends on what you can afford. So I use Fiverr. I use my friends to edit my work. And then I use YouTube. I will watch book videos on YouTube every week about how to self-publish a book, the weaknesses, the strengths. I read online Google. So just keep yourself in the process. Try to add some others who've been through the process. So
Oh, that's amazing. Find out, when you want something, your talent is not enough, right?
yeah.
You're going to have to do your own research, add some skill to your talent. Opportunity finds those who are looking for it. I think that someone should write that down. Opportunity finds those who are looking for it. And so if you're looking for opportunity, it would find you. If you want to do anything, you've got to do the work, you've got to research, you've got to ask questions. And, our guest today is telling us that that's what she did.
And
Now,
you need to talk to people who've been there before. I think a lot
yeah,
of us are shy from asking for help. Like, if you know me, if I don't know, I don't know. And I'm not ashamed to get help from people who I know have done it before me, just to get their input, because that's the way we can learn from each other. And to be honest, people are always willing to help. And so reaching out to people, it doesn't make you a weak person. It just shows that you're willing to help. That
right.
great help. Yeah.
Right. Reaching out to people does not make you a weak person. That's really
Yeah.
powerful when you say that, because, sometimes we come from a community that makes it look like if you reach out for help, you are
Mm-hmm.
weak. Or,
Yeah.
you have people say, I don't like to beg people for stuff. And I think that, there's some kind of arrogance and pride to that. That does not take you anywhere. If you need knowledge, it's okay to ask, and ask from people who have been where you are.
Yeah.
I have I have a quote that I wanted to put out and see what you think about it. And just tell me from your experience of writing this book what you would say to it. That courage is not the absence of fear. Do you agree? And how does that play out in your life and with the book?
Um, it is true. I think it's you can say it's a very true statement, because at the end of the day, just because you keep moving on doesn't mean you're not afraid.
Hmm.
For example, let me give you a scenario. Let's say the fact that we wake up every day and you're a mom, and let's say I'm not a mom, but the fact that I wake up every day and you go to work and you like, I need to work, you're worried about your kids, right? About their future, you think about their future. So the fact that you're able to keep going doesn't mean you're not afraid.
Right,
So you have enough courage for you to know that whatever you're working towards, it's worth for you to go through the process.
right.
And so I think I find it cliche when people act like, oh, I'm not scared, I'm just courageous. I feel like we all have that inner self in us that's like, oh, I'm nervous, I'm anxious. But at the end of the day, when you have the courage and you have a goal, it keeps you going despite the fears and the anxiety that comes in the process.
So, what fears and anxiety did you face with this book, and what kept you going?
Um, the first one I think is being out there, because
Yeah.
the people who know me, and I've been reluctant about doing this
Yes.
thing for a couple
Yeah.
of weeks. Like, I'm like, madam, I'm not about this social media life at all. But for people who know me, I love to sleep and I love my peace, like where I am. And so when I was doing this project, intentionally, I was trying to do it for my family members to get a copy of it to just tell them what I went through, right? And it happened that God in His own kindness has made it bigger than what I expected, and more people have shown interest in it, and I'm so pleased and flattered by the support. So I was scared of being out there, primarily because I was scared of being criticized. But at the end of
Mm,
the day, you really cannot impact somebody else's life if you're ashamed of your own story.
right.
Because I feel like somebody else is going to be moved by the story in Gang's life, which is word braids, not my story. But yeah, so I'm trying to clarify that at the end of the
Yeah.
day. Um, and then, so yeah, the first, the fear of failure, that was a big deal for me when I came out with this and reluctantly to come on your show.
Yeah.
But also, secondly, feel like I'm not good enough in this because this is my first time. And even now that I have the project in front of me, there are certain things I'm looking, I'm like, oh, I wish I'd done this differently. I wish I'd taken more time on this topic. But that's the process of learning. When you start the first time, the second time you do it better. And so I've gone to a place I'm like, okay, I made my flaws, but if I had to do this again the second time, then I'll probably do it better than what I did today. So,
Right, right. And my friend Lola is actually watching us live, and she knows that, on this topic, we talk about them in depth. You cannot, she says that, this should be laminated. You really cannot impact someone else's life if you are ashamed of your own story.
yep,
Very true. Like we all have a story. And, we would, when the power is in owning your story.
true,
And, the honest thing that would liberate us is people would always talk. The people that, their story is not meant for them are ready to critique and criticize.
true.
While, though there are other people who are waiting and who are inspired by your story. So imagine if you're held back by naysayers, by people who will critique, even though they have never even bothered to move an inch from their lazy sofa, right? And the fear of failure is real.
Yep,
The fear of failure, the fear of what if I put in this much and nothing good comes out of it.
preach.
But you know what? I would just share with you what my friend Lola has shared with me this whole time, that we do what we do without the fear of what the outcome will be. We enjoy the process.
Yep,
We
that
go through it without anticipating the outcome, enjoying the journey.
yeah,
Whatever else happens at the end, we will be happy that we have enjoyed the entire process of writing, of putting out something that someone can enjoy.
true.
Awesome. I think that's really, really awesome. Let's talk about your favorite chapter in this book and why was it your favorite?
I, actually, I was thinking about that yesterday. Like my favorite chapter is Bimbia. When she's still in the boarding school and when Miss Smith calls her to the office to give her the news about how she's gonna be traveling to the US with her. But also that the naivety and the innocence at that age in your life. Like when I look back at my life when I was 11 and 12, and I'm like, girl, I was so naive and happy. Like I had no trouble. So looking back, I'm like, yeah, that's my favorite chapter. And then secondly, for Miss Smith to pick on her. I feel like a lot of times when we think about people doing good to others, we kind of relate to our family members or our friends. But for somebody that you had no relationship with, just a teacher, to find favor in you and be that remarkable in your life, it's a lesson for us that we can also impact others' lives. We don't have to be related to them. We don't have to be friends with them. We can always be good to other people. And I speak from a place where I think I've received from so many people that are not family members to me.
Mhm.
And so I'm humbled that I've been helped by other people and technically strangers like Black, white, Arabic, everything you can name in this America. And so I really like Bimbia just because of the two facts of her innocence, Ngang's innocence, and then having a white lady trying to be there for a Black girl for the most part of her life.
Right. So for those who have not read the book, I'll just give you a little snippet of what she's talking about, and you can buy the book and enjoy it. So Ngang is a little girl that goes to a boarding school, and she's fond, or her teacher is fond of her, who is a white woman, a Caucasian woman who is a missionary in that school that later on adopts her, and then she has a whole life in the United States. And so, Kathy is sharing that was the most important, or favorite because she sees how someone who doesn't know you is kind to you and is not related to you, and she's received a lot of help. Um, my next question for you is, you have been to a boarding school, and I know a lot of people who are watching us have been to a boarding school. When I
I think
read
so.
this part, I thought about our life in Sicker. I thought
Pretty.
about the things that we did, the senior forms and everything. What, was your, like, what fond memories do you have of boarding school that kind of inspired this part of the book? And I would like everybody, if you've been to a boarding school, I have a lot of my Sika sisters who are watching, just put in the comments your fondest
Hey, Seka
memory
girls, and
of
I'm
boarding
gonna shout out to
school.
my Sekaris and observations. They
Hey, shout out, people.
okay, so technically everything I said there is kind of Seka life, right? Like the sardine and everything what we did in Seka. So that was, like I said, my worldview. That's what I used in that part of the story. But one of the things I kind of appreciated being in a boarding school was the true friendship that you formed.
Right.
I think most of my friends that I have to date are the ones that I kind of formed when I was in my secondary school and high school days, and we've stayed that close because of the bond we had while we were in a boarding school. Hi,
Yeah.
Mercy.
Mercy was
um,
actually my classmate. I have too many stories. I won't get into them, but
yeah. And then secondly, the doctrine, we all went to a Baptist school, right? And the doctrine we get, the religious doctrine and Christianity and all the things that we are today, it's easier for us to look back and say, hey, we got shaped by these norms and the morning devotions, the spiritual emphasis. So at the end of the day, no matter how far we go away from the world, whenever we meet, even though I haven't spoken to you in a year or so, but when we came back and kind of reconnected, it was like, girl, you remember back in our days that we were doing the thing. So that's what's up. Like the
yeah.
friendships are for real.
Yeah. And people are commenting, someone is here saying boarding school, those memories and relationships stay with you forever.
Correct.
Yes, they do. Like we have a class group of my classmates, the things we share, the random things we do. It's all fun. Sophie here says handover.
Wonka.
Yes, yes, yes. And Mama is talking about, hey, there are too many memories. There are too many memories. Yes, indeed. There's so many. Now, I'll move on to another section of the book where you talked about ordering at McDonald's. Is that fiction or is that truth?
That is true.
You told me that this book was 100%
I
fiction.
said it's 100% fiction in terms of the character in Gang, right? But I said it was also shaped by my worldview. And
Okay,
that's something that happened to me when I came to the US. I can't forget
awesome.
that story. But
Awesome.
yeah.
All right. We're going to go into it so everybody can understand what we're talking about. So, you guys know, if you're watching and you're an immigrant, it does not matter what country that you are in or what country you're from. When you get to the new country, there are experiences that you have that are almost like, whew. I'll share mine and then I'll allow Cathy to share hers. When
Okay.
I came to America, Lola says, we caught you in an alternative fact, Sister Cathy, and she's laughing at that.
I died. Wake up.
When I
Okay.
got to the US, in Cameroon, we call doctor or, anywhere you see DR, it's doctor. Because
Mm-hmm.
we didn't have streets we drive or anything. So DR was doctor. And then I came to the US and I saw street names, Joycelyn DR, Eleanor DR, Cathy DR. And I'm like, hey, bus driver, I'm going to Joycelyn doctor. And they're looking at me like, so crazy. Like those things that happen to you as an immigrant, and you're like, oh, girl, your ignorance just came out like this. Let Cathy share about her McDonald's story. Please don't hold back. Tell us what happened at McDonald's.
So when I came, I landed in DC with my cousin, Uncle Njie, and I had to go visit my brother in Wyoming. And so my uncle gave me $20 cash, and he's like, "Oh yeah, eat something on the way when you're going to see your brother." Look at me, poor me from Moyoka. How did I have seen America before? So I went to McDonald's, and I gave the person. She's like, "What do you want?" He's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I want that." He's like, "Anything else?" I'm like, "I want that." Anything else? I just kept on pointing at everything. And then when he came, at some point he stopped. It's like, okay, so you want this? He's like, how much do you have? And I gave him the $20 that I had. He's like, oh gosh, honey, your money is too small. You picked like more stuff. And he's like, do you really want this stuff? I'm like, oh no, I didn't know it was that much. You kept on, I didn't say that. You kept on asking me, is anything else? And I just like, oh my God, I did not know that was that much. I just needed just one of the stuff. And so he laughed and he gave it back to me. And I remember telling my uncle that story. I'm like, I was so embarrassed because everybody on the line was looking at me like, where is this one from? Like, but
Oh
it's
my
America. When
goodness,
you
that
do
is so funny. And I want everybody to just know that we all have those experiences.
it. Yep.
Okay. We all, even 10 years into living in America, I would still pronounce certain words and people would say, where are you from? What did you say? And that's totally okay.
And they
You would
keep on asking you, like, is that all? And I'm like, I mean, I guess I'm not getting the right thing, so I probably need something else. And I was like, no, that other one. I kept on adding, like, yeah, more, add, like,
So yeah, whenever you go to order at McDonald's, just be mindful. They'll keep asking, "Is that all?" They're not saying that you
that
should
you should
get
get more.
more. They're just confirming your order with you. So
Yeah.
you would have all those experiences. Now let's talk about Cameroonians sound more like Nigerians. You guys have the same accent. Okay. Well, I guess. I'm not sure what to say to that, but hopefully that's a good thing. Okay, so Erica has shared something here. Let's look at what Erica says. She says, I worked at the kids department at Bloomingdale's. A customer came looking for an outfit for her daughter for brunch. I found an outfit and I said, this would be nice for an evening brunch. She says, this will be nice for an evening brunch. And the lady just looked at her and walked away. Guys, like, if we talk about these stories, we're going to be laughing snot and all
That's
on
right.
this life.
It's really
Like, I
evening
think
brunch. I'm going to change the name of my phone, Erica, to evening brunch. FYI.
we all have these experiences and all. All
Yeah.
right. So I wanted us to talk a little bit because you mentioned it in your book about, how Ngang lost her parents while she lived in America. And this is a real situation for a lot of people, right? I know you have not experienced that personally, have you?
Yeah. No.
You have not
I
experienced that.
got
But I like how you talked about, since it's your worldview, I know that you can talk more about it for those who are listening. Because of that experience, she felt embarrassed that she could not go back to bury her mom,
mom. Hmm.
right? But then she did something. She put all that into her school.
Hmm.
So, I just wanted you to talk a little bit to those who have lost a family member or two, especially in this COVID times, who have not been able to go back home. What would you share with them, just based on the inspiration and wisdom you shared with us in Wet Braids, that they can hang on to for strength?
Um, I don't really know if I'm 100% equipped to say that because I haven't experienced it personally.
Hmm.
But from what I've learned and what I see other people do is at the end of the day, it's okay to grieve. Like
Right.
losing someone, I kind of went through a downward spiral when I had my brother sick. He wasn't even dead. So I cannot imagine when you lose someone, like you really lose someone. But I also think that um, we can hold on to the memories of the people that we lose.
Right.
One of the people who was really, I kind of knew her very briefly, but she was very instrumental to me, was my late aunt, my dad's sister, Madam Ashley Comfort. But the one or two times I met her, she kind of had an influence on me. And so every time I know that I lost somebody that was very close to me, my grandmother, my uncles, and people I couldn't make it for their funerals, I looked at the lessons, I looked at the way they impacted my life. And my grandmom, she was very supportive. She would be like, she was poor but very loving. And I'll be like, okay, so what can I do to make her proud? You go off the memories of people you've lost, and you kind of make sure that no matter what you do, you're not holding yourself accountable for losing the person. I
Hmm.
think a lot of us, and I used to be like that. I used to hold on to things that I cannot help. For
Right.
example, my brother was sick and I felt helpless. I kind of held on to it. I'm like, I wish I could do more. And you hold yourself accountable for not being able to help. And I guess what I'm trying to say at the end of the day is you can hold on to the memories of the people, and the best you can do is just hold on to those memories and do the best and not blame yourself for whatever you're not able to do.
Hmm. Yeah, a lot of people can relate with this. Mercy here says that part. I haven't read the book yet, but that is my exact story. I know Mercy personally. She lost her mom a couple years ago and couldn't go back for the burial of her mom. And so, what you're sharing definitely, would resonate with her. And, me and you both have not experienced that personally, but as I can imagine, it's a very difficult thing a lot of
Yeah.
immigrants go through. And, with everything you have shared, also, you can find some solace in counseling, in therapy, in talking to someone other than yourself,
Yeah.
someone other than your friends, because grief is a whole process,
True.
and you can grieve for as long as you need to grieve. There is no
Trust me.
time, however long it takes you. It might come like a rocking ball. We had a guest that shared, about how, sometimes she's driving and then it would just flood her face, flood her mind, and she'll just cry on her way to wherever she's going, and then she'll feel better. So you will need to grieve for however long you need to grieve. And hopefully, you'll see a ray of light as, as time goes on.
Yeah, and talking about the grieving for how long? Because my brother had the stroke April 2018, and I think I didn't feel like myself till the mid of 2019. Not
Hmm.
because of the stroke, he kind of felt better early 2019, but as like I said, I was going through my own internal changes and just certain things that I've kind of was going through as personally. And so it
Hmm.
took me a year for me to come up from that space of anger, frustration, and anxiety. So yeah, no matter how long it takes you, it
Hmm.
is okay for you to go through your own process because that's your life. Because at the
Right.
end of the day, when you come up from that process, you definitely will be a better person.
Right. And Sister Lola here is asking for the link to your book. Can is it Julian? Can Julian post it? Is Julian on here? Does Julian have the link to the
You should
book?
have it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Julian, please post the link to the book so people can have access to it and know where to find it. Sophie says, I can only imagine the pain of losing a parent. Yes, especially when you cannot go back to pay
Yeah.
your last respects to them. And that was Ngang's that happened to Ngang in the book. So Ngang
Hmm.
lost her dad, and then a
Two
couple
years
years
later.
after she lost her mom, she
Hmm.
was able to go back
The dads.
for her dad's burial. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. You can tell I read that book. You can
Yeah, yeah,
tell I
yeah. I
read
can tell you
the book.
read it. Mhm.
So she went back for her dad's burial, but her mom,
She
she
couldn't.
was not able. And then she mentions that because after that she was cut off, like she was no longer as connected with her home country, like
Hmm.
when her parents were still there.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's your biggest overall lesson from Wet Braids? And why
Girl.
should we read it? Why should people go out there to get it? This
Okay.
is time to sell yourself, please. I don't want that modesty here.
Please. First
Tell me.
reason. Because your girl wrote it. That's why you should go and buy it. I'm
Uh, uh,
joking.
uh, uh, uh,
Okay, so I'm so amazed by the lessons that are in word braids. I think when I wrote it myself, I did not know how much was innate. But reading it over and over after I had the hard copy, a couple of things took out to me as a person, like kind of stand out to me personally. But I feel like you read it, and you probably have your own things that are standing out to you because you reading it. It's still I'm Catherine, but I'm going to speak for myself. The lessons I've learned from the book. I think the first one I've learned is not to put myself under so much pressure.
mhm,
I think Gang was under so much pressure to perform, to be the best. She was so ambitious of becoming the best of herself. And like, if she wasn't being the best, she was failing. And so when she couldn't control Mrs. Smith being sick or she couldn't control her relationship, she kind of felt broken. And I feel like sometimes we are all under so much pressure to be at our best without realizing that we need to just do our best. We do not have to be at our best, but we need to do our best. Those are two different things. You know what I mean? You're doing your best, but you don't have to be perfect. I guess that's what I'm
right,
trying to say. So
right.
take away the pressure. But also, secondly, I think there is a joy in being humbled. For me, as an immigrant, it took me a long journey to get to where I wanted to be as a person.
Right,
And that's the story of Ngang. She had humble beginnings as an international student, right? In the story
right,
as well.
right,
And by the time she became the accomplished lawyer that she wanted to be, she could relate to everybody. I think in the book she says, I can see myself relate to the janitor, relate to the cook,
yeah,
relate to a lawyer, relate to a doctor because I have been through it all.
right,
And I feel like sometimes in life we all just want to get to the top, forgetting that there's a process to get into the top.
right,
And now I am humbled by the fact that the life experiences that I had, that I felt like were hard or humiliating, have kind of transformed my life to who I am today. Like certain things, you know what I mean? And so I appreciate the journey that you go through. You could start today to be a cook, you could be a janitor, but just appreciate whatever you're learning in that moment. Another thing too I kind of get from the book is family is family.
Right.
um, no matter where you go, as immigrants, I'm a Cameroonian, 100%, right? Fully
Right.
one Cameroonian. Wherever I go, I stand by the culture that I was raised by my parents, like family, respect, honor, carry yourself with certain dignity. And so I feel like for all those of us who are immigrants and my nieces and nephews, and for you people who are moms and everything, it doesn't hurt to tell your children to carry their culture for who they are.
Mhm.
Like we were brought up to be respectful, to call people uncles, aunties, not by their first names based on age, right? And so Ngang, even though she came from Cameroon and she lived most of her life in America, she also carried herself at the back of her mind. She knew who she was, she knew where she was coming from, and that kind of guided her lifestyle and how she lived at adult age. And the last one is, again, I'm going to go back to that point of not limiting ourselves to the people that look like us
Right.
or act like us. I feel like the reason why we have opportunities to meet people from different cultures and different races is because we can impact anyone's life in this world. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be a black person or a Cameroonian or your cousin. It could be anybody that needs help. And
Right.
that's the need that I really kind of was happy when I brought in Miss Smith's story in the book, because I was trying to portray the fact that it's not, our world is not limited to those that look like us or those
That's
that
right.
act like us. We go beyond the skin, and we
Right.
go, as humans, we need to be there for each other. I think
Right.
those four work for me.
Oh, well, that's powerful. I'm getting an echo, hopefully. All right. That's powerful that you share that, and I really love how you bring it out that we should not limit ourselves to people that look like us. As immigrants, we're tempted to do it. Do you know why? Because it's our comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's our comfort zone to stay among people that look and sound like us.
Yeah.
But I always say that I did not travel this far and actually leave my comfort zone to still come out here and not learn anything new. I'm
True.
challenging everyone just based on what Cathy, our guest, is able to share today, that step out. How come you have been in America for 20 something years and you cannot even say if you have a friend from another country than yours? We have
Preach.
to be able to expand our mindset because that's how we open up ourselves to new possibilities. I'm
True.
glad you raised this because Ngang had two Caucasian sisters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of us are so uncomfortable. We think that we are better. I'm gonna ruffle some what ruffle shoulders here. Some of us think that we're better, but it's not about who is better or who is not. It's all about embracing diversity.
Preach.
We say we want diversity, but in of ourselves, we're not ready to embrace other people's diversities. Look at the lessons we're drawing out of this book, of this wet braids. We're
So
on
you
to
read the
diversity.
book. So you read the book. What are your
Yes.
own lessons that you got out of it?
I got out a lot of lessons, but to mention her, what she went through and how it humbled her.
Yeah.
I have my own immigrant story that Luther has been on my neck to share about everything that I went through, about not having a place to stay, about being thrown out of homes. Yes. About being a lawyer and working at Walmart, stocking shelves. About being a lawyer and babysitting because I could not find a job. About the number of times I got eviction notices from my apartment because I could not pay my rents. About the number of times that my friends had to pay my electricity bill because I could not afford it. But when people look at my life today, they think it's all been rosy. No, it's not. I have gone through my own humbling experience, which I would share
Yeah.
sometime. And that's what I get out of it. That, the best givers are those that know how to receive.
That's true.
If you don't know how to receive, you don't know how to give.
That's
When you
true.
say, "Oh, I don't like when people give me," I see pride in that, and I cannot take something from you either because you don't give from a place of compassion or empathy. There is a giving from compassion and empathy that is from someone who has been given.
That's
That's
true.
a story for another day. So there's so much I gathered out of this book. And I wanted my sister is on here. She would share. She would like to come on and talk about what she gained from the book. Hi, Mina.
Hi.
Hi, can everyone see me, hear me? Sorry.
Yes,
Um,
we can. Have you read the word braids? I wanted you to share what's your review on the book.
I actually read it before my sister though, cause I
Did you have
I
to put
came in
me
from
on blast
Houston.
like that? Did you?
I came in from Houston one day, and I was in Dallas. I came to visit her, and then I went to her room and I saw this book lying on the bed. I'm like, "What book is this?" And then she was saying, "Oh, it was written by Secret." Before she could finish talking, I think I was at the second chapter. And it's such an interesting read because once you take it, you cannot put it down until you are done. I remember her trying to call me like 4 times. I'm like, "Oh, yes, yes, what are you saying?" um because I was so invested in the book. It's it's so interesting. At some point it can become emotional, especially when you can see yourself through the book going through a boarding school. Sometimes I kind of put myself, I had to ask her a couple times, is she narrating her story or is it a fiction?
Yes,
Are you sure
she
it's
asked me
fiction?
that.
Are you sure it's fiction? Because it feels like it's so true. And this girl and gang went through, I mean, she went through her own things, but one thing I took from there is there was somebody else loving her in her office, but she was still blind to see it because she was trying to fit into a narrative.
Mm.
And where it ended was what I my mom, like, I wish this continued. But where she ran into the arms of James. Is it James? I hope I remember
Yes.
that.
Yeah,
And
she ran to James.
I'm like,
Yeah.
girl, James was here all this while, but you kept trying to fit into a box of this guy looking this, and he was cheating on you, and you were seeing the burgundy flags. Now this is not even red flags, this is like burgundy flags. And you're still there, and James is there trying to tell you how much he cares. And it's amazing that this is actually what is happening in our society today, because people are trying to give the couple goals kind of image on Instagram and Facebook. And today I actually wrote something on my page. I was like, people would, yes, you had to get a copy, because I wrote something on my page today. I was like, people are trying to, Instagram or social media can make you have goals you never planned for.
Mm.
Because for example, if you never wanted this, you can see something on social media, all of a sudden you just want it because that's somebody's goals. And that's what social media has made people desire. So I'm sure Ngang was trying to fit into a picture to look picture perfect with this guy, whereas there was somebody else showing her attention and showing her love and showing her commitment. And that's what a lot of people face today. So if you have not
Wow.
gotten this book, you may want to get it. It's so interesting. I can guarantee you're gonna reach chapter one, and you're not gonna put it down until you are done with the book. But
Oh
it's
wow.
an amazing
Oh
read.
wow. Oh wow. So if you have a book, maybe you should contact Benjamina to do your book
I tell
reviews.
you, I was just like, yeah, I should hire you for my PR.
She gets into it. Well, thank you so much. You have shared something really insightful. Like you said, different people read it and they get something different out of it. And I'm so, impressed with your own insight, Benjamin. And thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. All right. So, if you have not bought the book, the link is in the comment. You can look for it. Everybody's saying I need to grab myself a copy. It's a great, great read, and look for it, get it. You would enjoy it. Now, Kathy, one of the last question I'll ask you, what next?
In terms of writing, or
In terms of the book, in terms of are we going to make it into a screenplay? Is this going to be into a short movie? What next?
oh,
There's a
okay,
lot of potential.
there is, by God's grace, amen. So when I was writing this, I was looking at a movie, so like more of a screenplay. Like if you look at the scenes, the way they were unfolding, that's what I was heading towards. So right now, I'm knocking on certain doors, hoping that something good opens up in terms of that. But so yeah, I'm trying to see if we can get into a short movie or something. I'm knocking
Okay.
on certain doors. Yep.
Awesome.
And then
Awesome.
my nephews, my 6-year-old nephew, shout out to Eddie. He read this book. I swear, 6-year-old. He read the book and he can call back and tell you the whole story. He's
Oh,
like,
I wish we
Auntie,
could have him to talk about the review, like what he thought about the book. That would have been
yeah,
cute.
in UK. He's probably like 3, 4 a.m. right now. Yeah. But he was like, Auntie, is there going to be a second part? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, there should be a second part. What's going to happen to Gang and James? Are they going to have babies? I'm like, I guess they should have babies. So, there's also that possibility. But right now, I think I'm more focused on knocking doors about getting a short play out of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We would love a short play. You know why? It will be great for us to show our children so that they can see lessons about culture, lessons about immigrants' journey. It will be great, and I'm looking forward to it. If there's anybody in the audience that has some kind of road insight into how we can make this into a screenplay, please feel free to contact us, contact the immigrant mom. We'll link you up with Cathy, and so we can make that dream possible. Any last words of wisdom you would like to share, maybe to those who are like Ngang or to those who are trying to write a book? Just drop some wisdom right here.
Okay, I'm going to start first with those who are trying to write a book, and not necessarily a book, if you want to get on a project. Because I did not see myself as a writer 2 years ago. It was never in my mind, like, that was not even happening. But the first insight is whatever you want to do, whatever project you want to get on, there's always a need to start. I feel like the hardest part is starting. And like I'd mentioned before, you can always tap into your community where people who have done it before and try to ask their process and what you could do differently. So that's the first thing. Just start, do it. You're not going to be perfect. And talking about not being perfect, I think I've read this book 2 times now. I've seen my mistakes that I made. I've seen some editing issues that I would have done better on it, just being honest about it. But that is the joy of seeing your mistakes and working on it the next time.
Right.
I'm not saying I could have done better, honestly, but at this point is what I have. And I'm proud of what I did, but it also gives me room that next time if I'm going to do this, instead of having one editor, maybe I should use 2 editors because they probably read things differently and see different mistakes. It just opens up your mind to different opportunities in the future. And then let's go back to the gangs in the world and to the ladies in the world and to the men. I think it's everybody because we have stories of James in here, which is also a story of triumph, right?
Right.
But I think to every individual and to every immigrant, the process is very challenging. There are very few people who came to America or to North America and had a smooth life. I'm happy for you. You people, God bless you all. Because my story, is still coming out. But at the end of the day, you need to keep your head high because things are going to happen to you that will break you, that will make you second guess who you are as a person 150%. But if you keep your head high and I'm gonna go to who I am lately, just how much I rely on the goodness of God in my life, right? And you know that the God Himself is a God that will never fail you because
Right.
in His word in Isaiah 50 verse 7, it says, because I have trusted in my God, I will not be put to shame. That's just a
Right.
paraphrase. And I
Right.
know that no matter what you go through in life, once you go past the challenges, the goodness of God, you cannot even contain. Sometimes I sit and look at things, I'm like, I thought by now when I had the things I wanted, I'll be moved by the success. But you're
Mm,
so humbled and you're so
right.
overwhelmed by the goodness and just
Right.
the process itself humbles you to the point where everything just I don't even know how to explain it. So I'm just trying to encourage you that no matter what you're going through, you just need to keep your head high. And it's not a race, so take your
Yes.
journey, take your
Yes.
own journey. People, I swear, you look at my friends, like if you know me or you know my cafe, I think all my friends have been established years ahead of me. And
Hmm.
they're sort of like, what's going on? But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, I think we all have our journeys, and God is taking us through individual processes to make us who He really wants us to be. And
Right.
that's my
Right.
last cent on the
Right.
whole thing. I'm done.
We need Cathy back again for another session because she has so much to share. 1 hour would not do us justice. Like we're gonna need you in a part two, right, guys? We need her back. But thank you so much for being with us tonight, for sharing with us about your book, For those who have not yet gotten a copy, I think you should. If you're trying to, you want more information about it, you can always contact her. She's a part of the Immigrant Mom group, and you can reach out to me personally if you're not part of that group, if you want her information. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Cathy, so much. Until next.
Thank
Actually, I
you.
would say this. The immigrant mom is going to be on a break for a whole month. A girl needs her rest. The team and I were working on the back ends, but we'll have our next show sometime the end of January. So this is our last show for 2020. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I love your participation. I love your presence. I love how you guys support one another, support Cathy, support the immigrant mom. Have a great weekend. Merry Christmas. Sister Lola says self-care is key. Someone is asking, where is the meet and greet? Cathy, I should put all your comments on here before we go. Yeah, bring Cathy back. I love her. Somebody
Oh,
else is saying we need a part 2. Mama Mercy is giving a clap out for the word you shared. Sidonie says, good luck, Cathy, on your book. Into a screenplay, more success. Just do it. Great job, Cathy. Looking forward to reading. Girl, you're doing amazing. Do not second guess yourself. Those that are called to you appreciate everything that you are doing. Never let the naysayers stop you in the tracks. This is just the beginning. All
thank
right, guys.
you. Thanks for having me. Oh my God, just emotional. Thank you. Can we
You're
go and drink some Gary now? Because I need to distress.
You're welcome. Have a good night, guys.
All right,
Merry
good night.
Christmas. Enjoy time with your family.